Why are so many men against marriage? I don't mean just not wanting to commit to a lifetime partner. I mean against the actual institution of marriage. I'm a woman and have a lukewarm opinion of marriage. I never really cared about a wedding, always figured I would elope. But I always thought the idea of being married on paper was nice, plus some tax benefits. But I'm not exactly marriage crazy either. My BF is very anti-marriage. He doesn't believe in the institution of it and doesn't get it. He agrees he wants a serious and committed relationship and is very monogamous, but thinks marriage only will screw the man over if there is a divorce. For reference, his dad lost everything in a divorce, so I see his background. But I've met a lot of men with this opinion. Isn't that what a prenup is for? Wouldn't a prenup just solve that fear? What is it with so many men being anti-marriage? Story 1. I've been with my wife 40 years. I love her to death, and it has worked out for us. But if I was single in today's world, with how the laws are written, it would be absolutely not. My friend went through a divorce a couple years ago. He caught his wife of 15 years cheating on him. She now lives in their house, hers now, has custody of the kids, receives alimony and child support, and her affair partner moved in with her. They had 50-50 custody of the kids until he could no longer afford a place to live, and now couch surfs and lives out of his van. When the ex found out he didn't have a place to live, she went back to court for full custody and get the child support increased. She got it. She won't marry the APBF because it will cut the money off. It has been a battle to keep my friend from ending it all. He has no hope for the future, at least for 15 years. He can't not pay or he won't be able to see his kids. He is just screwed. And the cherry on top? She is getting his kids to call the BF dad. Story 2. There is really no upside to marriage for a partner that earns more money. Almost everything that a marriage gets you in a legal sense can be achieved in another way. Power of attorney, medical power of attorney, cohabitation agreement, and a living will get most of the legal stuff out of the way. Prenuptials are far from airtight. The thing that turns me off the most is in a no-fault state, there is no penalty for bad behavior. You can cheat, beat, and lie till the cows come home, but it's no fault, so it doesn't matter. In a community property state, one party can ring up massive debt unbeknownst to the other spouse, and it still gets split 50-50. I am in a lifelong committed relationship, but will never get married. There is no upside. Story 3. All of the legal protections it grants can be had with a little paperwork. They stripped most of the tax benefit, and divorce overwhelmingly favors women. It's literally betting 50% of your assets on a coin flip. I love my partner very much. I want to be with her forever, but I will never give the state a say in my private relationships again. There is no upside. Story 4. It's obvious, isn't it? Men stand an 80% chance of losing 75% of their assets and 50% of their paycheck for 20 years upon divorce. And all a woman has to say to get this divorce is, "I'm not happy anymore." In return for taking such a risk, the man gains nothing from marriage. Why take such a risk for nothing in return? Story 5. It really just comes down to seeing the men around you getting fucked over time and again. Whether it's your dad, your brother, your best friend, uncle, coworker, ECT. When divorces happen, generally though not always, the woman initiates and goes for as much as she can. The man, most of the time, just wants to get it over with as quickly as possible and actually helps with his own fucking. Every man I have known that goes through a divorce, as well as me when I thought I was getting divorced, has uttered the phrase, "Fuck it, I just want this over, let her have it." My friend lost 65% of his income through divorce and had to watch as his ex-wife started dating and living rent-free with a guy much more well-off than himself, while he is living with his mom so that he can afford to have the kids half the time. A former co-worker got a new, much better paying job, talking 3 times the money, after the divorce was finalized, and she came after his new money too, and not for child support. For most men, it's just not worth the risk. You could be risking everything, and all you get is a Facebook status and a piece of paper. Story 6. Marriage is great for women, bad for men. Links the relationship to traditional norms and values that have the man working his ass off his whole life, for the woman is the homemaker. Guess what? Most men don't want that these days. And if you do get divorced, you lose everything. I just gave $400,000 away to my ex-wife. I am left with 75 grand at the age of 50. I'll have to work the rest of my days saving every dollar I can to try and recover from this. In the meantime, she withheld affection, never worked even when the kids were in high school, drank too much, and was generally not a good partner. If I get married again, it will be because the woman has a good job and a lot of money in the bank. Nice house and nice car. And if she loses any of that, I'll dump her and take half. After all, equal rights. Story 7. There's no benefit to a man to get married. The institution itself is an old one meant to benefit a woman, so she would be taken care of even after the man dies. Times have changed, this is no longer needed. Women can go out and get jobs and make money for themselves. As a man, why would I agree to be with someone I have to most likely pay for their life and then risk losing it all if they decide to leave? It would be more beneficial to get a roommate who pays half the bills and doesn't complain. Story 8. Why are so many men against marriage? For reference, his dad lost everything in a divorce. Damn, so mysterious, I guess we'll never know. Story 9. You never make a deal with someone who benefits from breaking the deal. Someone replied, a friend of mine just got divorced. His wife came in with nothing but student debt. He had a career and a house all prior to the marriage. 2 years in, she still has essentially no income and is a stay-at-home wife with no kids, cheats on him, and then she files for divorce. Ultimately, he had to sell the house in order to split their assets as she got half of everything. This is why lots of men aren't jumping at getting married. Story 10. In many places, a prenup isn't worth the paper it's printed on. I am divorced and we did a divorce agreement that was fair to both parties. There's really no benefit to me ever remarrying. How can they just be thrown out, you ask? A common theme in contract law, a prenup is considered a form of a contract, is that the contract is unenforceable if it can be demonstrated that either party was signing under duress, which is often defined as being forced, coerced, or otherwise obligated to sign in any way that would indicate that the person who signed in such a way would otherwise have not signed. A fairly recent trend is to claim that the statement made by the guy that he won't get married until the prenup is signed is itself coercion to sign the prenup. This argument is based on the idea that as the signing of the prenup doesn't guarantee marriage, this kind of requirement is emotionally abusive as a form of coercive control. Thus, it would be considered coercion, therefore rendering the contract void and unenforceable. If the prenup is unenforceable, then standard divorce law in that jurisdiction takes over, which is a significant improvement from her standpoint. While some judges will ignore this argument if the document is notarized or otherwise signed by a third party, stating that there was no evidence of coercion at the time the document was signed, other judges have taken a more lenient approach, to the point that a prenup could effectively never be enforceable. Story 11, 70% of divorce is initiated by women. Story 12. Isn't that what a prenup is for? Wouldn't a prenup just solve that fear? No, the usefulness of prenups are extremely limited, best used in protecting assets gained before the marriage. Anything gained inside the marriage is still fair game. The problem is mainly when the man makes the income and the woman stays at home. Courts will look at the woman's income potential and attempt to help her maintain the standard of living she's become accustomed to in the marriage. A prenup doesn't stop this. Prenups are often just straight up ignored in divorce. Combine this with the statistic that most divorces are initiated by women, marriage becomes a huge liability for men who make the money. Someone replied, and for those who aren't up to speed, most men are expected to be the providers even in an age of feminist culture. So that number is pretty damn high. Story 13. I think you answered your own question in your post. The experiences of your boyfriend and his dad are not rare. Yes, prenups are a thing, but they're not perfect. If you want to get involved, look up the National Parents Organization. They're a men's versus fathers' rights organization that are trying to fix the family court bias. They have report cards for different U.S. states, so if you're lucky, maybe you're in one of the good states that have good family court laws. If you're in the U.S., that is. OP replied, I can see that LOL. I'm getting a lot of comments criticizing me, but I never said I disagreed. I'm pretty neutral on marriage. It's something I never really was excited about. But I never considered not doing it because not getting married but being in a relationship was never an option that was discussed to me. I don't want kids and I enjoy financial independence and being able to do that. I would absolutely never want to take anything from my BF, even if we ended things on a bad note. I know not all women are the same though, unfortunately. Really, I was just looking for more opinions, not necessarily why my own boyfriend is against it. I know why he doesn't want to get married. I just used him as an example as he is what is closest to me. But I guess I should have thought my post through better. I didn't expect some strong reaction. Someone else replied, "You're getting strong reactions, but they're not necessarily at you." A lot of men have strong opinions because it's basically institutionalized discrimination against them. And instead of doing anything about it, society tries to shame men and beat them into submission, especially using love as like a weapon of emotional abuse. My opinion is if a girl offers a prenup, she's probably marriage material. It's an imperfect world for sure, and you're still not going to be protected. But not all women take advantage of the system. And the ones that do probably don't propose getting a prenup. Maybe your guy will see that. Or maybe the two of you will be happy without a formal legal contract. Either way, I wish you the best. Another reply mentioned, "So there's a lot of people talking about inequalities in divorce, which is a real problem, but I'm going to give you another perspective. At my wedding, I could have been replaced with a cardboard cutout, and honestly, it probably would have been a better day. Thousands of pounds to make sure everything was perfect and flawless and exactly to her taste. Vows read in church that she dictated and in the end didn't even mean. Any suggestion I made was thrown out immediately, but if her mom made the exact same suggestion, it was the greatest idea ever. No care or budget or attention at all given to my wedding party. But hey, I was marrying the woman of my dreams, so I can't complain, eh? In 2 months, it took her into our marriage to start threatening divorce. She became an absolute hell to live with. And if I spoke up or advocated for myself, I stood to lose everything. She became mean. She stopped taking responsibility for any housework at all. She cut off affection. Our sex life became non-existent. Then COVID hit, and the isolation made her even worse. I remember getting in from a hard day at work, key worker, so was working on site, to the house trashed, so I had to do my usual tasks for the night, as well as fixing the damage she'd caused. Eventually, and ironically also at a wedding, she decided to leave me because she got butterfly feelings for one of the groomsmen. Apparently I'd changed, and she just didn't feel the spark anymore. Tried to put all of the problems with the relationship on me. Life completely ruined by 2 weddings. Thing is, it's not an uncommon phenomenon. You hear lots of brides brag about how they've given their last blowjob once married. A lot of people, no matter how the relationship is beforehand, completely change once the trap has snapped shut. It's honestly something you have to be absolutely sure of, and that bar gets higher and higher the more you see. Story 14. Women get the fairy tale wedding, men get the nightmare divorce. You tell me why men should be for marriage. Story 15. There are men paying alimony to women who cheated on them, LOL. How would you feel paying money to someone who cheated on you, left you, divorced you, and is asking for money via the courts and actually getting it? Story 16. Why are so many women against prenups? Someone replied, and DNA tests. I'm as feminist as it gets for a straight man, but I still can't believe the huge pushback paternity tests get. Like on some level, I get why you might be initially offended, but come on. This is a newborn baby that you would be legally tied to for at least 18 years. Seems fair to be extra sure that you're actually becoming a father to your biological child. Story 17. Divorce is the most profitable career for women. Let that sink in. Story 18. Men aren't against marriage, they're against divorce. It's till death do us part, not divorce do us part. Lots of women don't understand this, and when they part, they want assets that aren't theirs. Prenups are expensive because you need a lawyer to write it up. They're not always enforceable, and women get all up their asses about prenups because it must mean he doesn't trust me and refuse to sign them. Story 19. You have no idea how abusive divorce court is to men. Sure, nothing wrong with the marriage itself, but once the woman decides to leave the court, fucks in ways you can imagine if for a man. If he's anti-marriage, it's because it happened to his dad or it's already happened to him. Story 20. Sadly, women have learned how to screw over the function of the prenup, hence making it a worthless piece of paper. Shouldn't you be talking about this with your BF instead? He seems to be knowledgeable on the subject. It also frightens me how nonchalantly you women talk about, oh, he lost everything in the divorce. Have you ever lost everything you have? I often wonder if women are willfully ignorant or actually stupid, because this isn't that hard to comprehend. If you like stories like these, please make sure to like and subscribe for more. If you have any opinions on these stories, let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you all enjoyed today's story time, and I hope to hear from you all soon.